Dear friends, you may have heard that we were, on August 18th, informed by the German Supreme Court of its ruling in which it rejected our appeal. That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. As you will also remember, that we had engaged in 3 lines of attack, this one being the least promising one, as no one who is not 100% in line with the deep state's government makes it to the position of Supreme Court justice. And remember also that even the last highly regarded president of the German Constitutional Court, Professor Hans-Jürgen Papier, who has been calling for a full and detailed investigation of the pandemic, said that the entire German legal system, including his Constitutional Court and the Supreme Court, had failed the Germans when they suspended the Constitution instead of protecting it. However, we had been hoping that not everyone on that 5-judge panel is corrupt. And there is reason to believe that this is indeed the case, and that those who had wanted to return to the rule of law by putting an end to this very obvious travesty of justice were eventually silenced by order of the deep state's government. Here's why. It is not just the corrupt criminal justice system in Göttingen that will be blown out of the water when I win, and I will win, but it is the German government acting through its former Secretary of the Interior, the former President of the German Domestic Intelligence Service, the former Secretary of State, who just managed to create more negative headlines for herself in her waning days as President of the United Nations General Assembly, antagonizing both the U.S. and Russia, and it is the director of the German version of the FBI that will all be blown out of the water when the truth comes to light. They are all fully aware of this, and that's why they're making the weirdest mistakes. The Supreme Court's decision bears the date of March 17th, 26, not August 17th, as we first thought, because we were informed of the ruling on August 18th, but March 17th. But that cannot be, as all of the lower courts that are involved in my case, for example, the District Court of Braunschweig, and the Regional Court in Göttingen, and also Prosecutor John, and the defense, of course, we were all told by the Supreme Court as late as July of 2026 that the Supreme Court needed more time and had not decided our case yet. This indicates to us that there had been an internal struggle between the members of the Supreme Court as described above. One or more justices, we believe, had wanted to end their descent into total lawlessness and the government's descent into totalitarianism. That's why it took the court so long to decide this case. And then they were ordered to reject our appeal, as any other ruling would have brought and will bring down the entire government. So in a way, these 5 judges, or 1 or 2 of them, are literally the fall guys for the government, except without Colt Seavers, Howie, and Jody. Here's the thing. If they had put the real date of the ruling, and that is August of 2026 on it, this would have been a grave violation of the speedy trial rule, which, according to the German Constitutional Court and the European Supreme Court, says that pre-trial detention, which shouldn't last any longer than 6 months anyhow, can only be longer than a year if there are exceptional circumstances. And if you want to keep someone in pre-trial detention for more than 2 years, that requires very serious cases, such as murder cases. And it also requires extreme reasons. Those are the requirements for keeping someone in pretrial detention for more than 2 years. Now, this could qualify because this is a political persecution, but they'll never admit it, of course. We will prove it to them. Now, I have been held in pretrial detention for more than 2 years and 9.5 months. Or rather, I had been held for that long when they informed us of the ruling. That's way too long. And that's why they backdated it to March 17th, thereby creating a new, very serious problem for themselves, quite apart from the fact that, of course, backdating a decision is criminal and a scandal in and of itself. Because now there's a gap of 5 months between the alleged date of the ruling, March 17th, and the date on which we were informed about it, August 18th. And the next problem that this backdating presents to the court, quite apart from the above-mentioned problem, there must be no delay. There must be no delay between the date of the ruling and the parties being told about it. Even 6 weeks is way too long. Now here, it's been a full 5 months. Let's take a look at the 11-page decision itself. It's a joke. It does not even discuss our appeal at all. Rather, the first 3.5 pages only explain why my wife, Inka, should be held accountable to pay more than 500,000 euros to the very criminals who, in cooperation with Prosecutor John, stole more than 1.158 million euros from us. Why is this? Well, that's because of the deep state's central rule that every family member of a defendant should be demonetized, or, for that matter, anyone who is critical of the deep state government, such as, for example, Jacques Bode of Switzerland. Remember, Inka had nothing to do with anything. Yet every single month the monsters are seizing her disability pension. The remainder of that ridiculous decision deals solely with the court's desperate attempts at justifying Schindler's willfully and arbitrarily adding another 5 months to the prison term of 3 years and 9 months meted out to me, which means that the total sentence, of course, is 4 years and 2 months. The reason for this, they state, the reason for this being perfectly fine, they state, is that I was in charge of the defense's strategy. Well, why wouldn't I? I'm the defendant and I'm an attorney. Plus, I'm the most experienced one of our defense team. And that because of this, the defense kept filing motion after motion to finally hear our witnesses too, and not just the prosecution's witnesses, to show, for example, that I was in fact abducted by the German government in Mexico for political persecution. That, of course, they say, was utterly ridiculous and had nothing to do with the case. So it's absolutely fine, they say, to slap another 5 months onto the 3 years and 9 months of prison term. Well, contrary to what the court in Leipzig says, it has, of course, everything to do with the case, and it would have blown, and it will blow, the entire fake German puppet government out of the water. Because, and this is the good news, what these corrupt fake courts in Göttingen and Leipzig tried to suppress, just as Fauci did in the Senate hearings, is the truth about the pandemic. Why? Because this will not just bring down the German field office of the monsters deep state, but the entire transnational deep state. And it will open the doors to many more questions about 9/11, the climate hoax, the flooding of our countries with illegal and criminal migrants, etc., etc. But this truth cannot be suppressed in the civil case for damages, which we filed a little while ago together with a motion for a preliminary injunction. This case is indestructible. It includes a request to order the state of Lower Saxony to immediately set me free, because this is indeed a clear-cut case of an abduction for political persecution committed by the German government. That's why they didn't want to hear it. And this is a violation of Article 16 of the German Constitution, and it constitutes, according to both the German Supreme Court and the German Constitutional Court's rulings, an extreme outlier case. Extreme outlier case, that means it directly translates into damages under civil tort law, including a permanent and immediate ruling to set me free. I will, of course, focus on that case, which, for obvious reasons, they have been stalling, at least up until now. And I'll be arguing that case, as they say, on my home turf. One more thing, and this is a reminder of the all-important synchronicity of events. The German puppet government, remember Merz is next, is now definitely collapsing as the by far most popular political party in Germany, the AfD, is, even according to the mainstream media's polls, poised to win every single one of the upcoming state elections in all of the eastern states in Germany, starting on September the 6th. Sure, the deep state's cartel parties, including the ruling coalition party of Merz's CDU and the all but irrelevant SPD, are doing everything in their power to demonize and stop them, for example, by using extreme lawfare against them and making it illegal for many of their candidates to even run for office. And the mainstream media, with the fake news magazine Der Spiegel spearheading the effort to demonize and dehumanize the leaders of the party, just came out with an issue of the magazine Der Spiegel showing a picture of a young and energetic AfD candidate for governor of one of the eastern German states, calling him the most dangerous man in Germany. I thought that was me. And this pretty cool guy just shrugs, buys dozens of issues of that magazine with that cover and autographs them, handing them out to his supporters, whose numbers are literally skyrocketing as a result of the monster's show of pure evil and stupidity. I'm telling you this because I have known for quite some time now, and I think I told you this, that I will get out of here when the system that put me in here crashes. And this is happening now, with us watching it in real time, but in slow motion, as though it were a car crash. The situation for the fake federal puppet government, at least in the eastern German states, has become untenable. It has become almost literally lethal. And that's because that is, Chancellor Merz's federal coalition government under the leadership of his CDU party enjoys the lowest support ever recorded for any German government and any German chancellor. He's next. In the polls, his and his government's approval ratings are down to 12%. 12%. On top of this, the day before yesterday, a CDU mayor of one of the towns in one of the eastern states donated 10,000 euros and then another 5,000 euros, not to the CDU, but to the AfD, and called for the people to vote not for his CDU, but for the AfD, and for Merz to be sacked for his left-wing total eclipse of incompetence. This has all the makings of a mutiny on Merz's fast-sinking ship because, as even the mainstream media were no longer able to ignore, close to 50% of the members of his own party want him gone. His almost non-existent coalition partner, the SPD, has the same problem. There, even a majority of the party members want their leadership gone. There's more good news, but I'll leave it at this and save that other good news for the next statement, which is coming up very soon. But I am attaching a summary of a new book published by my friend Vera Sharaf on the pandemic. Together with my work, as evidenced by the thousands of hours of videotaped interviews with hundreds of experts, and together with RFK Jr.'s book, The Real Anthony Fauci, this is all the evidence we need to expose the monsters and their puppets and take them down through a Nuremberg 2.0 type legal tribunal. I am still, and now even more, certain that I'll see you all very soon, my friends.